The Inland Talk Express.
I want you to do me a favor.
Yeah, sure.
I want you to hit me as hard as you can.
You're entering a world of pain. Whole world gone crazy!
Hey, I know you don't smoke weed. I know this. But I'm gonna get you high today. Cause it's Friday, you ain't got no job, and you ain't got to do.
Boys.
Damn!
Let's get to it.
Cause I got nothing to do. The bad. The evil.
Afternoon, everyone. This is Nothing to Do Radio, KCAA 1050 AM, Fridays at 5. If you want to go on our website and follow along and maybe even pick my brain, I actually revamped the site a little bit, and we got a new section titled My Brain. It's a really cool social connectivity part of my site where you can see my Facebook, Twitter, YouTube videos, and even my podcast of this here show all in one area. So go check it out, nothingtodoradio.com. We're going to be getting into several subjects today, mostly going to be surrounding our security response teams, our police officers, our court systems, our ambulance drivers, and our fire department. So sometimes a touchy subject. I'm not necessarily saying I'm on either one side or the other. Of course, I support our boys in blue and the people who do risk their lives. But at the same time, I realize there are cracks in certain foundations that we have established throughout our government, state and federal wide. So we're definitely going to be diving into that. And later on, I actually am going to have an exclusive interview with Free Stater Project himself, the voice of a generation. Ian Freeman's going to be on the show, so he's going to be hitting us up via Skype in the later half of the show. If you want to give us a call also, 888-909-1050. This is Nothing to Do Radio on KCAA 1050 AM. Rob, I got an email, and you know my emails, 98% of them are positive. 2% tend to be negative.
I bet.
Okay, well, 4 out of 5 of the emails I receive monthly are positive. But I get that one negative, and I'm a glutton for punishment, so I only bring the negative ones to the air. And I got one that it makes me, I don't know, it piqued my curiosity, and here it goes. This is from Benjamin. It says, "Hi, Brian. I listened to your show last week and enjoyed most of what you had to say about the death penalty and the natural death of Richard Ramirez." Remember, Rob, last week we talked a little bit about the Night Stalker. Richard.
Do I?
Yeah. It was a fun, glorious, rainbow-filled show. Yeah, he died of natural causes, and he said he enjoyed that. That's cool so far. However, you seem to come off really casual and don't really have what I'd call a voice for radio. So I thought maybe he was going to have an argument to the topic, death penalty or Yeah. I was getting ready to argue, but he hit me with the voice for radio. He hit me with the the frosting of the cake rather than the
voice for radio.
Voice for radio.
All right.
He said, "I'd recommend maybe you listen to a Tom Lewis," I'm guessing he means Likas, a Tom Luke Likas or Mancow to get a better understanding of what I mean. I know what you mean already, Ben, so you don't have to break out examples. You don't have to say, like, after you date a girl and she says, you really have to have sex a little bit longer for me to enjoy. You should watch maybe some tapes, like watch some Shane Diesel, if you know what I like in girth. If you want to know how big I want your ending to be, check out some Peter Norton. No, you just tell me I'm not that good in bed. I get your point. I don't have a great voice for radio. And the email continues. "I do enjoy your show, however, but I like to be reminded that I'm listening to a radio pro. Thanks and have a good Father's Day." He is with the Father's Day holiday. It's kind of weird. You don't listen enough. I don't have many children.
I was going to say, how do you know Brian has kids?
Yes, exactly.
There's nothing about me?
A voice? No, nothing about Rob. Everybody loves you, Rob, the stuff that comes in. Great chemistry, they say you have. They say I steamroll over you, so I take that as good chemistry.
Steamroll, it's your show.
You're a big part of it. You make me sound good. You make my radio voice that much better.
So now you're saying it's my fault?
No.
Oh, okay.
Let me address Ben. Ben, a radio voice isn't that difficult of a thing to do, right? I'm starting out. This is about my 6th month in the radio gig. And right now, what you really want to focus on, the only thing I want to focus on is getting comfortable enough to make it seem like it's conversational. I bought a car last year, and when I went in, I went to 2 different lots. The first lot I went to was the typical salesman. He came up to me, shouting in my ear, "Hey, what's going on? Hey, you like what you see? You know that car is driven by Beyonce." That type of crap. Automatically your brick wall kind of goes up. In my head, at least. You deal with the salesman. If you're reminded that you're dealing with a salesman, that this person is a salesman, he gets a commission on this, he's not paid, he cares whether he sells his car or not. It kind of takes you out of it. You put your defenses up. You say, I'm going to go elsewhere. The second place I went to, which will remain nameless for now until I get them as a sponsor, they were much more customer service orientated. They didn't remind you that they were sales. They came up to you and very casually said, oh, is this the type of car that you're looking for? Is there anything else I can help you with? They kind of give you the assumption that you are here for a car, so why do I have to sell you on something you're already here for? If someone goes to the grocery store for toilet paper, they need toilet paper, period. You don't really have to stand in front of it and sell them on what has better absorbency or the price range. You kind of know that this is what I'm here for, and the person kind of lets you sell it yourself, basically. Just fall into the old trap of I came up with this idea of wanting to buy this car, rather than the salesman forcing you into it. That's kind of how a long-about analogy of what I do with the radio show. I want to be a little bit more casual to you folks. I want to bring up interesting topics, things people maybe care about, and not focus so much to talk like this, because if you really think that this is the main thing that you're going to get on Nothing to Do Radio on KCAA 1050 AM, that's go elsewhere. There are all those other places where you can find somebody with less content but with a greater professional voice. And again, some of the best looking actors aren't really the best actors. So who would you rather see in the Lincoln role, Daniel Day-Lewis or Keanu Reeves? Which would be hilarious, by the way. Can we get some Lincoln audio with Keanu Reeves? Do we have anyone to do his impressions? 7 years ago. Whoa. Is that a pretty good one? I can do impressions kind of, Ben. Is that cool? So, yeah, I got that email. I had to bring that up. But who's not laughing? And that's who I'm focusing on now. Thanks, Ben. And you just made me get my first drop in radio history because we had to drop out what I called you. Okay, police officers, our loyal boys in blue. They patrol the highways, they patrol the apartment complexes, and they patrol our streets. And generally, it feels good sometimes to see a cop. Sometimes when you're if you're just hanging back at your house and you see kind of one drive by, they're not really patrolling so much, but you can tell that they're kind of keeping an eye on things, making sure that society is functioning well. There's a little bit of comfort there for most people, and that makes it understandable. They're there to serve and protect. But I realized something yesterday when I was at my house on my patio, watering my new flowers, which are already dying, by the way, and the lights I bought for my little garden. I got these cool little solar lights. Those damn things are already dying, so I don't have the best green thumb. But as I was sitting on my patio, a police officer was at a neighbor's house, probably, 2 football fields away. And I was nervous. And I don't know why I was nervous. I almost had to convince myself that they're not here for you. Now, I'm a pretty law-abiding citizen. I pay my taxes on time, and I don't have any warrants out for me that I'm aware of. And he was talking, by the way, with my neighbors. My neighbors, again, far away where there's no way it could have been about me. It wasn't my neighbors upstairs where they were like, there's a weird smell coming from Brian's house downstairs. Maybe you should go investigate. This had nothing to do with me on my non-paranoid frame of mind. So why was I worried about this? Why should these people who we pay, by the way, through our taxes, which I just got my bill for my federal taxes last week, we pay them. We pay them well. We pay them after they retire. I'm not saying so much as we're customers and they should treat us like they're a Wiener Schnitzer employee and we're complaining about not getting enough chili on our dog, but there's a reason why when one pulls behind you and you've done nothing wrong, your butt puckers up. And I don't think that's I think something's wrong there. I think that they're maybe letting out the aggressive bully stance that they kind of show. I'm thinking of ways that maybe they can change that. So, Rob, I'm going to get into a few cop stories that I've had, a few instances where it was nothing great. I don't have any Rodney King-esque stories. I also don't get as aggressive back with the police officers as a lot of blacks do that I've seen on YouTube and various outlets. The one thing black people have that I noticed the white people don't is black people, you don't know when to shut up. You don't know just sometimes when to just stop and just listen for a second. You take it too personal, I noticed. And if I was as aggressive with my answers as a lot of you as I've seen, I think I would get the nightclub against my nightclub. That's fun. That's a good brand name for a nightstick.
Reward,
I know. You want to go to the nightclub, Blackie? Horrible racist cops. But yeah, my stories that I have are more minor things where it goes to the whole hacky thing of this is what my taxes are going towards. And also, I want to hear about your guys' cool cop stories. I know you got them. Every single person I run into, whenever I bring up my police stories, they always got a few good ones about the BS they've gotten pulled over for. So again, Nothing to Do Radio. Our phone number is 888-909-1050. Again, 888-909-1050. Starting when I was younger, I wasn't the best kid. I had my juvie days. I had my shoplifting, and actually, when I got busted for shoplifting, it was in Moreno Valley. I did the whole bring 3 pairs of jeans into the dressing room, and then come out only holding 2 pairs of jeans because that third pair is now underneath the pants that I walked in with. So it's a cool little trick. I even stole at that same time. I shoplifted a Scully. Kind of the things that black dudes wear to get their hair right. I don't know why I never wore it. Well, apparently I never wore it because I ended up getting busted, got tackled. While I was walking out of the store, a sweet old lady came up to me and said, "Excuse me, sir, excuse me." And I kind of laughed it off like, all right, yeah, I know. And then I don't know if it was her younger son at the Moreno Valley Mall, at the Mervyn's at the Moreno Valley Mall, tackled me to the floor and I was arrested. So I wasn't the best kid. And there was a time that I was coming back from my bus stop. I believe it was junior high. And for some odd reason, I had matches. And when you're young and you're a troublemaker, matches are fun for all you kids out there. And we walked through this dry field, which I believe now is a nice park, a nice park with green grass and baseball fields. But it was a dry field when I was walking through it. And I wasn't intentionally trying to, but I noticed that I had to light some matches and just throw them down, just like nothing. So I was walking through the field from the bus stop, lighting a match, kind of putting it out a little bit, waving my hand maybe once or twice, but not like a Polaroid picture wave, just kind of a quick and would drop it in the field and walk. And before long, like Godzilla was behind me, people started running past me. And I turned around and noticed that field was on fire, heavily on fire. So I quickly I started running with the group. I started running with them. And then some conscious, I don't know if it was maturity coming at me at 8th grade, but it told me go back and put this out. Mainly I was thinking that the fire's going to leave the field and burn down some houses. And I could be in a little bit of trouble for this field fire, but I'll be in a whole lot of trouble because there's 20 kids around me. So if anybody gets to them, parents, cops, anybody, they're going to rat me out in a second. So I decided to put out the fire myself. So I ran back to the brush fire and started stomping it out. Brand new Filas, back when Filas were popular. My swap meet Filas. Started stomping out the fire as much as I could. I even had some friends who were helping me throwing their book bags down, waving it down, and we eventually put out the fire. As it was smoldering, two fire trucks, came into the field. About 10 police cars rolled in, and before I knew it, I was the one being questioned because, of course, the fingers were already being pointed at me. Little kids hate getting in trouble, so they ratted me out quickly. And up to now, you'd say that's a good reason for the cops to come, right? Right? Cops should come when the fire should come as much as the fire department should come. The cops are there to kind of investigate and make sure no one's hurt and start filing reports. Fire department's there to put out the fire. Cops are there to put out the other kind of fire. So they started talking with me, and I think I made up something about I was smoking a cigarette or something. I was a bad kid. Again, they could believe me. I wasn't a sweet little freckle-faced Jimmy. They could buy I was smoking a cigarette and just tossed it. And so that's what I told them I did. It was an accident. I just threw it in. I didn't stomp it out well enough. I apologize. And the cop kind of did the super nanny way of talking to a kid where he got down on one knee, And he looked me right in my eyes, and he told me, if you confess that this was on purpose rather than an accident, you will get in less trouble. And that kind of
hard to make sense.
Very hard. But even at 8th grade, it was insulting almost. It was like, do you think I'm that stupid? Even at, 13, 14 when you're in 8th grade? I knew right away, is an open and shut case that much more important to you than, well, I would say, do the means really justify the end of your case? Is lying and getting a 13-year-old, who, by the way, I would have gotten 10 times more trouble if I would have admitted that I did it on purpose, which honestly I'd never say I even was really doing it on purpose. I was just lighting matches and throwing it. That was a stupid part of me, but I wasn't intentionally trying to burn the field down because I would have never put it out in the second place. I would have said, good, this is what I wanted, and then ran. I wasn't that evil. I was just an idiot. But yeah, he told me, admit this is arson. Rather than an accident, you and your parents will get in less trouble. And that got me kind of on my crusade, and I also think that kind of got me mature almost in that moment where I realized you could be bad and immature and an idiot, but you can't know better and then kind of play that role that you want things more cut and dry rather than maybe doing a little bit extra work because sometimes crap happens. And that's what happened. Crap happened that day. I don't know how they write it up in their report. It seems like it would be just as simple. It seems like it would be more simple than arson, because arson, he'd have to be probably a witness in the trial. I think with what happened with me was my dad just ended up getting a bill from the city for the fire department. Even though, by the way, which isn't even fair, I put out the fire. I won a bill for my Fila's that got melted. My book bag was melted. There was nothing left, and those were brand new shoes, and I was broke as a kid. My family was broke, so I had to wear those shoes, I think, for another 3 months. They would stick to the hardtop when I would play basketball. So that kind of let me know that cops are there. First, I think just I would compare it to the Second Amendment. Why do we have the Second Amendment? Well, it's to protect against a tyrannical government. That's kind of the main reason why it was put in there. And a lot of people will argue, a lot of liberals will say, do you really think if you have a machine gun that you can hold off the United States Army? No, that's not what it's there for. Realistically, if it got to that point where the United States Army was coming to attack us, no, they would win, of course. They have more guns. That's not what it's there for. It's the détente that if you shoot at us, government, if you take a shot at us and begin shooting on innocent civilians, not only will we shoot back, but we don't need you anymore because now the country is gone. You just destroyed everything that the government has to do with our foundation, what we're here for, and what freedom is supposed to represent. That's why the Second Amendment is there, is to kind of offer a protection against that kind of thing. Kind of a unspoken coup. Just we won't mess with you, you won't mess with us. It won't get physical. We'll handle this the democratic way. That's kind of what cops do. People mostly drive 65 miles an hour on the freeway, whether there's a cop present or not. It's just kind of a security there to kind of keep society in line. And I'm not on the complete anarchist side of it because I believe we do need that. We do need some sort of not maybe a ruling class over us or a person to hit our knuckles with rulers when we do wrong, but we need some sort of sanity in society, so specifically our society, because it's so big. Now, if you have you have a small village or something, you may not need as heavy as a presence as cops and firefighters. But in a society as large as ours, it just kind of keeps things moving along well. You know, why do we drive within the lines on the freeways or the streets? It's just kind of the way we do things. We drive in this line. We don't want to hit each other's car. It'll cause more trouble than good. We don't want to run stoplights, even if no one's around. We still stop at stop signs. Most of us, I stop for about a second. And if it's 4 a.m. and the red light's not changing, I'll run it. But it's a nice little equalization of everyone be cool. I like that with cops. But we also have to realize that cops aren't robots. They're people. And they're also, like any of us, get tired at their jobs. Towards the end of their shift, they get kind of a little bit more grouchy and more, I want to go home, just like any of us do. Same thing with doctors. We want to make it seem like doctors are these perfect mechanical machines that can fix everything and they know everything and they're so intelligent. they're still humans, though, at the end of the day. They'll still get tired. They'll still get emotional about certain things, and they still have bills to pay. So that's always going to affect their judgment to a point. I also had another issue with police where certain common sense things and certain issues where you're telling me what's safe, when it's specifically in my own car, and I'm the one who should be able to, at least as an adult, determine what's safe in my own vehicle. A lot of people complain, why do you get a ticket for a seatbelt? I mean, why would you get a ticket for not having a seatbelt on? You're the only one who's going to get hurt in that instance. Why are police and the state and the government getting involved in that? And I've seen people argue the fact of, it keeps health insurance costs down because we don't want to pay for people who are they're quadriplegic now because they weren't wearing a seatbelt, and now that will affect us as a society. So we just kind of make these blanket rules and regulations saying, do this is safe. To a degree, I'll buy that. Again, you have to have sanity in a society. I was pulled over, I don't know, probably 21, 22, and I wasn't sure why I got pulled over, but I was nervous, and this time I had reason to be nervous. I had canceled my insurance a week before and did not re-up yet. I had no insurance. So when the cop pulled me over, my Alex Jones conspiracy started going off, where it was like, they can look at your license plates and they know right away. Is that good, Alex Jones? No. And they know right away that you don't have insurance. My mind went there, and so I was nervous because all I heard is, I always thought that if you get pulled over for no insurance, they take your car, they tow it, you go to jail. Like, I didn't know. He pulled me over because I had mirror dice hanging from my rearview mirror. He pulled me over because I had fuzzy, red, leopard, don't judge me, dice hanging from my rearview mirror. And then, of course, on top of that, that was only the little initial the initial cause. I don't even think he wrote me up for it because it was a fix-it ticket, and all I did was unwrap them and say, okay, that's done. But he also wrote me up for the no insurance. So a fuzzy dice on my mirror ended up being, I think, a $600 ticket. But I got to drive off, which was confusing too. It's like, all right, so are you just going to pull me over again 200 yards down the road? So that was another fun instance where it's, what fish are you trying to fry? What fish are you trying to catch? What are you really trying to accomplish with chicken-ass things like pulling someone over for dice in their mirror? He straight up told me the reason he did is because it was blocking my view. I've seen Beam John Malkovich. Is it Beam John Being, right? Being John Malkovich. This cop was not inside my head, could not tell my vision of clarity, what I could see out my window or not. He just basically said, these things, which, by the way, are sold to you as mirror dice. They weren't sold as doorknob dice for when you're out and you come home and your roommate's banging some chick in the room and they don't want you to come in, so you hang this on your doorknob. No, they were sold as hang this from your rearview mirror. And I wrapped them twice, too, so they didn't hang too low and didn't bump me in the head when I made my quick U-turns. He told me, yeah, you can't have those. It blocks your vision. But, by the way, you don't have insurance, so that's kind of – it's almost like that's someone pulling you over because you have dealer plates, but your car is way too dirty to be that clean. They kind of look at it like, all right, well, this car probably isn't that new to have dealer plates. Let's pull them over. Something else is going on. I had dealer plates in my car parked outside my house, and a cop stopped, went out to my car, and started investigating it. I wasn't driving or anything, and I had to go out there and talk to him. Again, nervous as hell, had to go everything in my head saying, was it that Spider-Man 3 knockoff that I bought at the alley in downtown L.A. 10 years ago? Is that why this cop's here? Had to go out there and just explain to him, I just bought this, I moved, I haven't got the plates yet, and he went on his merry way. So if it's an instance of this small thing could actually be hiding something bigger, that's one thing. But I don't think that's what we really hired him for, and I don't really like that that's what they're doing. Because I occasionally I once called the police on my neighbors because they were fighting heavily, cursing heavily, kids were screaming. It was nuts, and 2 a.m. And they told me they may or may not come out that night. They're a little busy. It's a Thursday night. Crazy. And that bothered me because it's like, okay, so for the times when you pulled me over for chicken ass, I don't know what that cost your department, but when the times when I maybe needed you for something that could have been serious, you say not for now. I know that you're a customer who pays us well, but we're not going to come out for now because we got other things going on, hopefully bigger than a domestic dispute. So fun stuff. But we're going to continue this a little bit more. We're also going to be getting into a great interview with Ian Freeman from freekeen.com, part of the Free Stater Project. You guys check out his YouTube videos. They're awesome. All of his court videos, the passive aggressiveness that goes on between him and the judge is to die for. So Nothing to Do Radio, 888-909-1050. This is KCAA 1050 AM.
I got nothing to do.
I hope you're enjoying the show, but how'd you like to capitalize on this here fine program? Nothing to Do is currently interested in new advertisers. If you have an online or local business and are interested in increasing your customers, then how about getting some ad time on a popular radio show? Go to nothingtoduradio.com for details on how you can get involved with the show. 30-second commercial spots, live reads, Twitter and Facebook shoutouts, and premium ad space on our website, all for a ridiculously low price. Again, if you're looking to advertise, go to nothingtoduradio.com and let's get started with you supporting a great show and getting people in the door.
Southern California's Inland Talk Express is KCAA News Talk 1050.
Nothing to Do Radio here at 1050 AM KCAA. Waiting for Brian. Ah, here he is.
When the toilet starts messing up in the bathroom, I become a blue-collar worker very quick. All of a sudden, the knowledge comes into me like I was just jacked into the Matrix, and I learned this new set of skills that I got to fix this toilet within a certain time frame.
I was about to just go into my own little spiel of when I've gotten pulled over by the cops because I didn't know when you were coming back.
Yeah.
You know.
Tell me about your story, Rob.
Well, I have a few.
You have a few? Let me actually read this email that I got.
Yeah, let's let you go with it.
This is from someone who has a nice pullover story. It says, Brian, I was coming home from a restaurant with my girlfriend when I was pulled over. He asked me where I was coming from, and I told him dinner. The cop asked me if I had been drinking, and thankfully I hadn't. The cop then told me to show him the receipt. After reviewing it, he finally let me go. Fun times, Sherrod. I didn't really know why the cop messed with you so much until I read your name at the end there, Sherrod. So I think I honestly sad to say you were driving while black, which I got to side on the side of the cop. That's your fault. So no, that's
it's his fault because he's black.
Yeah, driving while black, not black part. Yeah, DWB. No, yeah, that's some BS. I always think that I do honestly put receipts in my pocket after restaurants to either show the cop that I only had a beer or two, which honestly I don't think if that would hurt or help you even if you have one or two beers on there. Last week, me and my girlfriend went to a cool like prohibition style restaurant, and he gave us we had absinthe. 140 proof, by the way. No, I mean, vodka, normal, your run-of-the-mill vodka and Jack Daniels is 80 proof. 140 proof, and that, I mean,
and they will only let you buy one shot's worth or something, per person or something like that.
It was, I mean, he seemed like he was trying to sell me and my girlfriend, like, it's a little bit more than probably a two-shot. We're trying to sell one of us each, and we're like, let's just start with one. I was asking him, like, I heard this is like acid. I heard this is like LSD. And he's like, no, there's not as much of that component in this absinthe.
Yeah, in Europe, they put it in there.
It's called wormwood or something. But, I kept that receipt. And I was like, if a cop pulls me over, I'm just going to show him the receipt saying I only have one beer, because I only did have one beer, but I also had one glass of absinthe. So I thought that might actually hurt my cause.
You're telling the truth, yeah.
So good stuff. Nothing to Do Radio, KCAA 1050 AM. Oh, I had to run back from the restroom. Don't you hate that? You started it early on purpose. You said,
I told you had 3 minutes.
I heard your knuckles crack, like, finally, my time to shine.
You started walking away at like a minute and a half left. I'm like, I wonder if he's actually going to go have a smoke or
pee or both.
I figured I'd just start doing the show and counting down when it was you were going to come back.
It's going to go smoke in the restroom because I'm a bad boy, as we're talking about our fun cop stories. Well, my whole bitching about the police and things like that kind of blend into this next segment with this next guest that's actually going to be joining us via Skype, Ian Freeman of the freekeen.com and the Free Stater Project. He's a courtroom bad boy. If you watch his court videos, they're great. It's fun just to watch someone mess with the system, regardless of if you agree with all their views or their points. It's fun to just see someone stir something up. Regardless, that's why I love even the Occupy Wall Street. I disagree with them, ironically, 99%. But it's fun to kind of see the youth mess with the system. It's fun to see someone mix it up and fight, and I think that's good. I think that's a lot of what America's kind of been built on is certain forms of revolution where things hopefully don't get too crazy. We don't have German shepherds and hoses released, but a good protest I think is always good, and that's kind of what my next guest Ian Freeman's all about. They're about mixing up the system and kind of saying in so many words, less government, or at least let's change certain things that are affecting it. And I looked a little bit into him, and actually a branch of what I'm not sure if he is or not associate himself as, but an anarcho-capitalist. Those two words put together already kind of seems like an oxymoron, an anarchist and a capitalist. You're talking about someone that wants no system with a certain system that we stand behind in the United States. But looking into it, what it basically seems to be is let's privatize everything. Let's privatize the court system, let's privatize police, and let's privatize all emergency systems that we use. And in that way, we'll through competition, through competitive pricing, through competitive work, this place guarantees to do a better job than this person. No unions. You don't have to worry about these people unionizing and kind of saying, well, I've been here for 10 years now, so now I can kind of just phone it in and not show up when I want and have a bad attitude. You can't fire me. Privatizing it would almost seem like it would take away a lot of those issues. Look at FedEx and UPS with the post service. My mailman sucks. I never know if he's going to be there at 5 or at noon. He talks on his freaking Bluetooth. The only guy I know who still rocks a Bluetooth. For the entire time talking about what chick he's going to bang that night, loud too. And when my mother-in-law, who worked for the Postal Service for almost 30 years, talked to him, he said, they can't do anything to me. I've been here for 20 years. I have tenure. They can't fire me. So what motivation do you have to do a great job, to get your mail on time, to be a good worker? If you can't be fired, you can't be denied raises, you can't be denied your benefits, you can't be denied anything because it has nothing to do with the production you put out or the work that you put in. Would that transfer over to the police? And I actually was having a conversation with someone about this last night, and they brought up some good points. They were mainly bringing up the monetizing issues. How can you pay if we completely privatize police? Rob, in there, you're a smart guy.
Yeah.
Because this is something I've tried to be thinking about. Like, how would we pay for privatized police as a society without it being called a tax, quote unquote? It's a difficult kind of thing to think about, because UPS is simple, FedEx is simple. The reason they're great too, by the way, they run to your car, they run to your house. They're not walking and talking on their Bluetooth. They're running to your house. UPS almost always comes about 3 o'clock at my house. They bust their butt because they're private and they know they have to do better than FedEx. They have to do better than the Post Service. It works in that way because it's like, okay, whenever I buy a package on Amazon, I pay a little bit for shipping. Would we kind of make it where every time you want to call the cops on our neighbor who we think is dead, we have to pay a little fee over the phone?
Or you can your answer is kind of in your little explanation.
Oh,
get rid of the Postal Service and use that money.
I like it already.
Nobody uses the Postal Service anymore.
But then wouldn't it be considered a tax, though? Then it would just be kind of a tax that we transfer over to another service.
Even if that is described as a tax, it's nothing new.
Okay.
Everyone's already used to paying that.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure there would be the argument of, well, you're going to get rid of the Postal Service, why don't you just give that back to us then?
Yeah, no kidding.
But then just, don't tell the people and do it.
I thought about a few different ways that maybe we could, and it was hard. I was racking my brain last night. We probably have to section it off into smaller societies. Shopping centers. Certain shopping centers could say, we like this police force more than this police force because maybe their people are a little bit more qualified. I like their training program, and I know they have such a great background check on these guys, and their costs are really low. Kind of contract it. These places, these shopping centers, may contract certain police forces to keep an eye on that street. Or you know how they have donating highways? These certain people donate a highway. Things like that. They donate for a certain stretch of the highway, or that they have a certain area of a neighborhood. people come together and kind of donate, again, quote unquote, money to their police force of choice. And so now you kind of have a privatized thing where these people, now the cops are thinking, now this company that provides these cops are thinking, you guys better do good because we can't lose that contract out to the other private cop company. Do you think the cops there would actually do maybe a little bit better of a job, maybe not hassle people who are just really citizens, they're innocent people, you know, they won't hassle them as much and maybe just focus on the more serious criminals and the more serious crimes where it's now worth it to them to do what maybe they should be doing in the first place, which is affect things that affect society. Ignore all the small things. Ignore all the things that are, certain noise complaints. If you have a person who constantly – this is a good way for charging people. If you have a person who constantly complains on noises that happen around 7 o'clock at night, this old lady who's constantly calling the cops because she wants to watch Matlock, and there's the people next door are complaining at 7 o'clock, are partying at 7 o'clock. You start charging her. Say, listen, if we go out there and there's no arrests made, if we go out there and there's just a warning of, hey, can you turn the music down a little bit? If you called us and it was a non-emergency, you get charged. You get the bill. I maybe even like that a little bit more. So fun things with the government, and I'm always curious about other options, and I'm waiting for our guest to call in. I heard he's going to be calling in pretty soon here. So I like other points of views, and I even like sometimes the extreme point of views. So, here we are. My guest today is Ian Freeman. He is one of the most outspoken voices for the Free Stater Project. Visit freekeen.com to learn everything about him and his fights. He is right now actually coming from a memorial for a gentleman that set himself on fire in front of the courthouse in protest. So, Ian, could you tell me a little bit about him? Did you know him?
Oh, no. I didn't know who he was. Actually, I might have seen him once when he was on the side of the road. He was one of the many bereaved sort of screwed with fathers that have been screwed over by the court system, and one of many. He was, I guess probably don't have time to get into the story, but custody battle, one of those sorts of situations with the state, and it was just absolutely awful the way he was being treated, which isn't uncommon, and he was pushed to the brink to the point where he just couldn't take it anymore and set himself on fire. If you Google Thomas James Ball, Thomas Ball Keene, then you'll find the story. Probably find the story I wrote for freekeen.com with a lot of detail about the case.
Oh my God, that was actually one of the things I was going to bring up with you was the term that I've never heard of before. And while I was doing my little research on you, you describe yourself as an anarcho-capitalist.
No, I definitely don't do that. No,
don't.
That probably came from Wikipedia, I would guess, right?
I'm guessing either Wikipedia or through somewhere. That was going to be my question is because one of their philosophies, when you first start reading it, it's kind of like a libertarian kind of a capitalist view where it's free market. Let's, instead of socializing courts and socializing police departments, we privatize it and have them kind of fight for kind of making us more of a customer and saying who we want to pay for, maybe the cheapest, and have certain social services turn into commodities maybe a little bit more. And there's kind of pros and cons on that, but this is definitely seems like where it would actually work because in a divorce setting the guy gets screwed completely, and there's crazy cracks in that system that I still don't even know why. And I'm in California, so we have it I think pretty much worse in the whole country.
Yeah.
So what would be your? We already know your kind of views with the courts, and kind of if you want to give a brief explanation about what your what the Free Staters and what Free Keen's about.
Well, I'm a voluntarist, so I flirted with the anarcho-capitalist, but ended up determining that it's a combination of two of the most confusing, anger-inducing words with so much baggage, which of course is anarchist and capitalist. So I wouldn't want to describe myself in those ways. I do support the free market, but I think that people can organize themselves in whatever way they think is best. So if they want to do capitalism, that's fine. If they want to run a commune, that's fine too. Whatever. As long as I'm not forced to pay, as long as I'm not forced to to subsidize someone's system. So I support freedom, and I support human interaction being on a consensual basis. And that's, to me, what voluntarism is all about, is interacting with other human beings consensually, which, of course, the government doesn't do. They are the most successful criminal gang that is is known to mankind, basically. So the idea behind the Free State Project is to get people who love liberty. Now, that can mean somebody who's a small government libertarian kind of person all the way to a voluntarist, somebody who doesn't believe in any coercive system whatsoever. But people that really love liberty to move to the same place in order to get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. We've got over 14,000 people who have signed the pledge to make the move. I'm one of the early movers. I moved back in 2006. And in fact, if you were to move tomorrow, you'd still be an early mover because we want to get to 20,000 signatures. And then once that 20,000 is reached, there'll be a 5-year window when those 20,000 people have to move to New Hampshire. So we've already got over 1,100 people here. These are, a lot of these early movers, and we're already having a major impact. Free Staters have been called the single greatest threat to the state by a couple of different state representatives, and the state people are pretty frightened because they've never had to deal with anything like this before, a real concerted, concentrated effort of activism towards more liberty.
I'm talking again with Ian Freeman on Nothing to Do Radio on KCAA 1050 AM. From what I understand, the reason why you want all these people to move to Keene is
not just Keene; it's all of New Hampshire.
All of New Hampshire is to get a certain amount from that pool up into to become the voice for the state, so that they can then make the changes kind of from the inside.
We're seeing that happen already with well over a dozen Free State Project participants who have been elected just in this last year. There have been a few dozen, at least several maybe, that have been elected to various different positions across the state. But we've got at least a dozen in the state house right now. And there are 400 members in the New Hampshire State House. It's the largest English-speaking legislative body in, the Western world. So it's great to be here among people that actually care about freedom and are willing to do something. In fact, the Porcupine Freedom Festival is coming up here in a few days, and that's the annual gathering in the woods, the northern woods of New Hampshire, at a campground of over 1,000 liberty-minded people, a lot of them coming from as far away as California. In fact, we just had a couple new movers come in here from California. One lady brought her candy business up with her. She sells candy online.
Oh, nice.
And another lady is a midwife by trade. And she, for her midwifery, was arrested in California and charged with a felony. And I don't know all the details on that story, but basically she helped somebody give birth outside of the system.
I'm guessing licensing issues.
Yeah.
Probably
a lot of the charges.
Right. Probably a lot of the same reasons why you find yourself, I've seen in court for driving on a suspended license, and usually your fight seems to be, and with a lot of these cases, other than yourself, I know we even got a couple people out in California, probably 20 minutes from the studio. There's a guy who's crazy aggressive in court, which I think is probably his biggest folly. You of all people from the Free Stater movement and kind of the sovereignty issue when you're in court, you seem to be the most relaxed and the most calm, and therefore you seem a little bit more collected, and you know what you're talking about. And I think it also it doesn't irritate the court.
Certainly got you fooled.
Well, that's the reason I talked to you. I was contacted you. It's easy for me to maybe get again, I forget what his name is, but he lives I think in Fontana, again 20 minutes away from me, and he is aggressive when he's in court. He attacks everybody from the clerk to the judge, very loud, and even though he seems like he has some knowledge to a point where he probably obsesses on it on a nightly basis and studies, when you shout, you sometimes don't have people close their ears to you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
What do you think?
I got plenty of people that don't want to listen to me, and I'm not shouting, so I could see how that would make things worse.
Well, they also see you as the figurehead, which I notice has kind of become a funny joke within your group. Is you're when they call you a leader.
I don't find it that funny. But,
well, no,
it is what it is.
Meaning your group doesn't really determine itself by leaders. Every man is kind of his own person. And
right, which is why even calling it a group is inaccurate. I mean, it's a loose-knit collection of individuals, and each person kind of does their own thing. The thing with the Free State Project that a lot of people don't understand, certainly the people in the government don't understand this, is that, the government guys are used to this kind of top-down hierarchy structure where there's somebody at the top and they tell somebody else what to do, and there's people below them. But the Free State Project isn't like that. The Free State Project only exists to encourage people who love liberty and who are willing to do something about it, to move to New Hampshire and do something peacefully, I might add, but to move to New Hampshire. And once each person arrives, it's up to them what they do. And there's nobody to check in with. There's no handler. There's no committee or anything like that that's telling us all what to do. And I'm certainly not in charge of anybody. But I get accused of that sort of thing because I have a radio show, and so therefore my voice is a little bit louder.
Right.
I'm a little bit more noticeable, and I'm a prolific activist. I mean, I'll go out to anything, which is why I was late to your show today, because I was at that memorial for the guy that set himself on fire, and I brought out all the PA, helped bring out the PA equipment and all that. So again, I apologize for being late.
Honestly, the guests that I normally have come in from California, their excuse is always Friday traffic out here in Southern California. So your excuse of attending a memorial for someone setting themselves on fire, I'm going to let you slide for the 5-minute delay. Again, this is Ian Freeman, freekeen.com, if you want to check out everything he has to offer. And going to your YouTube clips, which is where I'm guessing a lot of people over the country has really learned your name and kind of your cause. First, I started with it just because of the entertainment value of it. Before your tapes. Before your tapes, I actually started with the Moors, the Moorish Americans, the African American groups.
Yeah, I've seen those videos. They're pretty entertaining too.
They are insanely entertaining, and I have to say I love that judge in it because the passive aggressiveness that goes between both of them, because they can't go over the top. She can't throw him out of the courtroom because that'll, that's kind of what they would want. That would kind of.
What happened with those guys though? Like I saw one video of them once, or a couple videos from what appeared to be one or two hearings, and the thing with a lot of the people on the internet is you never get follow-up. Like, what happened? What's the rest of the story? Did they come to their house and arrest him for failure to appear? I mean, what did they do?
Dude, there was 12 tapes of him, and I think in the 12th tape, the judge finally said, "No more talking. This is what I'm gonna charge you with." And then there was never a tape again, and it was like they finally stopped talking. But when you see people like the Moors, who seem to have similar ideals to what you guys are with the claiming the sovereignty and being, of flesh and blood, and you're not a corporation, those ideas, but yet they come with a more aggressive stand, and even specifically with the Moors, they have a whole racial side where you can only judge another person if they're the same race of you. I mean, it gets deeper than that, I'm sure, but
yeah. So I don't really follow a lot of the conspiracy stuff, or I don't know. I guess conspiracy is not the right word, but the kind of the legal magic words in court. I've tried some of that stuff and I failed miserably at it. You can watch me fail if you look for Ian Freeman arrested court. You'll find my first arrest where I just totally bombed at that. And of course, the people that purport these theories always say, "Well, you didn't say the right words in the right order, and you got to try it this way."
Yeah.
And I always say to them when they call my show and purport their ideas, "Hey, where's your video? I mean, where's the evidence of you trying these things that you're advocating here? I would like to see the video evidence of these people supposedly winning with these theories." I don't think there's anything that's a guaranteed win. I think that the best thing you can do is to come to New Hampshire if you love liberty, and get together with other people who are willing to come to court to back you up and to support you, and just keep throwing stuff up against a wall and see what sticks. I mean, that's why if I'm good in court, it's because I've been in there a bunch of times as a defendant and as somebody who has operated a camera. But we've got the people on the ground here, and it's only going to grow as more people come. So I'd recommend people go to freestateproject.org, but only if you love liberty. If you think it's okay to control people, you don't belong in New Hampshire. And of course, the idea of liberty is where you can live your life how you want, so long as you don't harm anybody else. And if that's something that you are into, and I would look forward to seeing you here. And I'm sorry, but I got to duck out. I've got another interview scheduled on a different station about me getting arrested for recording video in Palmer, Massachusetts, in their town hall, which I recently won that case. Of course, you always have to put quotes around "one" when you're in court. You always lose your time. But this was the one case where I actually got a check from the state. So if you look for Ian Freeman Palmer, or just search Palmer on freekeen.com, you can come up with videos and that sort of stuff. But Brian, I really appreciate you having me on tonight.
Ian, thanks for being a guest on Nothing to Do Radio. Again, freekeen.com. Ian, have a great day.
Thanks so much.
Smart dude, huh, Rob?
Yeah, he knows his stuff.
He really does. You guys, please check out the videos of not only Ian Freeman in court. Search not only his name and then with court on YouTube. Also search the Free Stater Project court, and then Moors, Moors in court. They are a group of I would describe them as semi-militant black dudes who have a lot of, again, like I said, the same ideals, but they come off a lot more aggressive, and they don't sit when being told to sit. They don't remove their hats. They are, but yet they still linger on a mutual respect with the judge, which honestly I think is one of their main causes is don't put yourself above me. A lot of the times, some of their things that they fight is they won't call cops by their, they don't say Sergeant Gonzalez, they call them Roberta, or things that might maybe come off as a little, I don't know if the word's immature, but just a little bratty sometimes, and that will take you out of it. But if you really see, I think what they're trying to accomplish, they're trying to maybe level things out a little bit more so that stupid things like parking tickets and non-harmful crimes, where it has nothing to do with you hurting a person or property, it's just some mandate that the city came up with to bring in revenue, that's what they fight. That's the cause that you kind of have to look behind when you watch these. Trust me, I was against these dudes a lot because I just looked at it as some hippies not wanting to pay court fees and just drink beers in the park on a Sunday. It goes a little bit deeper than that now that I've really looked through their stuff and see kind of what they believe. So Ian Freeman, that was awesome. Check him out. And back to what we were talking about, and kind of to sum it all up with the interview with Ian, with the bitching about cops that I was doing. Do we need a government? Now, government by itself, the definition of government it's kind of a simple one. It's the political direction and control exercised over the actions of its members, citizens, or inhabitants of communities, societies, and states. So it's what's best for the people. What do the people want? What is the California, hopefully the representatives that we have here will do what we want and what we say, and they have our interests at heart. Of course, we know that the corruption causes in government where they kind of start looking out for themselves because, again, all these political officials, these people who put Barack Obama on a pedestal like Jesus, they're still humans when it comes down to it. I work with someone whose wife went to college with Barack Obama and went into the cafeteria once during lunch, and he had a backpack very similar to this girl's girlfriend, and went up to him and said, "Barry, you stole my girlfriend's backpack," and accused him, and he cowered down and said, no, I didn't. And stories like that I love, because it kind of reminds you that these political figures, they're just us. That's what they're supposed to be. They're us. They're out of the pool. They come out of the pool to represent the pool. But they're just humans when it comes down to it. So hold them to that standard. When they mess up, tell them. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of cops when they pull behind you. Unless you're doing something wrong, then drive very slow. This was Nothing to Do Radio. I am Brian Gill. Visit nothingtodoradio.com to get this show and all past shows and get all the info within my brain. So I will see you guys next Friday at 5 p.m. KCAA 1050 AM.
You're on board KCAA's Inland Talk Express. KCAA, Loma Linda, 1050 AM, the station that leaves no listener behind.